if you suck at golf. I mean, you suck at business too. I mean, what's the deal? Maybe play something else.
I think it was Barbie, and it was like the worst movie ever.
You don't have to come from money. You don't have to have the best education. You know, you don't have to have prior experience to do really anything here. You could just start from scratch, and if you work your ass off, it's just like in the movies. You know, it actually works.
We always said like it's not the money. There's a lot of things that the money buys that do make you happy, whatever. But I think it's the freedom to be able to do what you want.
Remember, we found a gun in the kitchen with drugs everywhere, and the guy got dragged out, and then they had a gigantic dog that looked like a mini horse.
Nobody has a crystal ball, so in a year from now we'll look back and see who was right, I guess. But if you just sit there and wait for the perfect day, for the perfect time, for the perfect opportunity, you might sit there for another 20 years and nothing happens,
Next thing you know, we had an $800 dinner. Still haven't sold the house. We're like, okay, what are we doing? But you just gotta like roll with it sometimes,
You know what it takes to sell real estate?
The art of putting the deal together.
I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing this because this is my calling. I believe in it. I love it.
Try to master your craft and don't give up.
Even if the money's not coming in, just trust the process.
Because you're only as good as your team. I learned that the hard way.
Half of it is talent. The other half of it is what your people skills are.
All right, welcome back to the Let's Development Show, where we talk about all things business, lifestyle, real estate. My name is Max.
My name is Patrick.
And we're two Germans passionate about business, building our life and our careers here in the US, mainly focusing on real estate, but we're always dabbling in other business ventures as well.
And before we get started, make sure to subscribe, YouTube. Most people are not subscribed yet. Make sure you turn on notifications. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all the other good stuff.
And thanks for subscribing, guys. I think that somehow worked. Now we got the subscriber numbers up.
Yeah. Ellen is happy.
There we go. All right, so today we just have a episode with the home team. I got Patrick, Alan, our producer, the main boss, and we'll answer some questions that you guys have sent in. So let's fire away.
All right, before we do get the questions, a little rapid fire that we've done for other guests. Some rapid fire for you guys to get you guys a little warmed up. So let's get started here. Last movie you watched?
The Killer.
The what?
The Killer on Netflix.
The Killer on Netflix. Okay.
Amazing.
Is it a brand new movie?
Yeah, I think so. It just popped up. 98% match. I watched it. It's 2 hour long. Pretty good.
Pretty good. Patrick?
Last movie, I think actually Barbie.
Barbie?
Yeah, because I usually just watch like documentaries. I think it was Barbie, and it was like the worst fucking movie ever. It was like, I don't even know. Like, we went because everybody said it's great, and it was like the worst fucking movie ever.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Who is the most famous person in your contacts? You can say.
Max.
You can name drop. It's okay. No shame in it. You guys know some famous people in Europe and golfers. You know some golfers. So like, who is the most famous person in your contacts? You can think about it for a
Right
second.
now, as of today, Matthew Fitzpatrick.
Wait, who is that?
As a golf, he won the US Open.
Oh, Matthew Fitzpatrick. Okay.
It's probably the most recent, most famous.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Wonder who I can say.
Wah, wah, wah.
Let's just leave it at that. I think that's fine.
You can think of anybody in your contacts? Okay.
No, I can. I just piggyback on Patrick because I have it in my contacts too.
Okay. So, what music or artists are you listening to right now? Music/artist.
Always. I love Sirius XM. I always listen to satellite radio.
Okay.
Usually either hip hop channel or EDM. A little bit of jazz in between. It's not like a
Artist?
specific artist. No.
So some jazz mostly right now.
Well, it's either jazz, EDM,
Hip-hop.
or hip hop. That's a wide
Mix of
range.
both. Okay. Patrick?
Ed Sheeran, Louis Capaldi. Like, I like that kind of stuff. So.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
I'm not that versed.
All
in the
right.
music world.
What is one thing you can't live without?
Phone.
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 Dang. Okay. One dish/food you can eat forever.
Pasta.
Sushi.
You need sushi forever?
Yeah, I love sushi.
Ooh, I don't know about that. Okay. Pasta I can do. You can carbs and you'll be good.
No, dude, you'll be rolling around at some point.
Okay. Describe your style in one word.
On point.
That's 2 words.
That's okay.
Point.
I think I'm in dad mode. Sneakers and t-shirt.
Also 2 words, but down mode and on point. Okay.
That's a shitty question. It should be in two words.
And 2 words. You guys made your own question.
Alan, you screwed that up. That's okay.
What was your nickname growing up?
Max?
there's no German nickname.
No.
I mean, mine was Patty, but I would like really like Schmal, but it's a German word. It's a German translation for skinny.
Skinny.
Smob?
Schmal
Schmal.
means skinny.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I don't know where that came from.
Okay. Who's your favorite comedian? It can be right now. It can be.
Nate Bargatze.
Ooh, he's coming to Phoenix
I know.
soon.
I think Dave Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Okay. What is your go-to karaoke song?
Angels, Robbie Williams.
I can't remember the last time I did karaoke.
Or what's a song that you would do for karaoke?
Phew. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't think about that shit, Alan. Fucking come up with
If
these
you go to a
questions.
party, there's karaoke happening. What are you
Something from the
singing, Matt?
Backstreet Boys. I think I can.
Okay, there we go.
I can do any of those songs.
All right. So we'll get to some of the questions here. Somebody asked here, so we'll get to the mailbag. How did you and Patrick meet? What is the backstory of the friendship and business partnership? How did it come together? Take us back to Germany, when it all began, when it all started.
Patrick just told the story a couple of days ago.
Who did we
We did that interview.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean we met mutual friends back home, same hometown. Just ran into each other, going out on the golf course, and kind of just became clear that we both have like the same goals and visions on a lot of things, and started being friends, started working together, and I think one added fuel to the other thing. Like we became better friends the more we worked together. We became better business partners the better friends we became. So I think it's something that we always say that it's probably once in a lifetime that you find something that like works out and there's like no issues, and it's been 15 years now and there's still no issues, and so happened organic, and that's how it goes.
Like, did you meet through somebody, or how did it work? Like,
I think the very first time was like a nightclub in Cologne, Diamonds.
Yeah, we
just both at the same.
can you make Michael a little closer?
we enjoyed going out at the time, and we were pretty active in the nightlife department.
Yeah. So you met at the nightclub?
Yeah.
Yeah, just like a same table type thing, same group of people, and yeah, just really random.
Okay. Like, how did the business, I guess, component come together before coming to the States? Like, was there, and you guys like did some tech business back in Germany, but like, how did that kind of?
We always had different opportunities, like that presented itself, and then, we ended up working together mostly for someone else. That was, for example, the tech business, and then, we started our first own business. We worked for an insurance company, so we were working for the company, but it was like an independently run team that Patrick and I built there. That was the first time not working for someone else. That was pretty successful, and at some point we just decided, we want to go to bigger and better things, because at the end of the day we were selling insurances, and you can only do that for so long,
Wait, was it always the goal to come to the States, or?
It became the goal at some point. It wasn't always the goal. I think once we worked at that insurance company, we came over here for a vacation, and then we said there's just more opportunity. So there was just, I think it happened along the way, and it became a goal as we.
Yeah, it became a very clear goal once we kind of spent time out here, because when you're not from here, you realize pretty quickly that the opportunities are just different, and you don't have to come from money, you don't have to have the best education, you don't have to have prior experience to doing really anything here. You can just start from scratch, and if you work your ass off, it's just like in the movies, it actually works. But it works better and a lot different than where we're from.
So you kind of saw it as like a fresh start, or like a new palette in a sense.
Yeah.
Coming to the States. Okay, that's good. Another question here is, what makes you tick on a daily basis? Take us behind the curtain of being in real estate, day in and out. What makes you tick?
What does it mean? Like TikTok, like clock, or what?
Like, what makes you go? Like, you wake up in the morning at 4 o'clock. Like, what makes you?
I think that by now we have so many different aspects in the real estate space that we're involved in, right? From the development, the resale. At the end of the day, it's a people business where you deal with mostly, human challenges on a daily basis, and obviously depending on what part of real estate, the stakes are very high and involve our own money and money from our investors. So I think that waking up every morning and knowing and facing these challenges that are certainly not easy on a daily basis in some capacity or another, I think that's one of the things that that let me tick. Yeah, is that how I say this?
Tick, or what makes you, I guess, go? Like,
yeah,
what?
But I enjoy the personal aspect of things, right? I just got from a meeting. We got another referral from someone that we met a couple of months ago, and through that conversation, I could see like the guy has literally no idea about real estate, the process, how it works. Very inexperienced, although he's actually older than me, but he's just never been through that himself, and consequently doesn't have all the resources. And I think to be able to now, after 7 years, present all the resources and guide someone smoothly through the process, make them feel comfortable, know they're getting the best deal with the best lender, the best resources to find their house, inspection, like everything that's part of it. There's really no price tag for that. Made me realize again on the way to here. I mean, we have a very well-oiled machine, and it's makes me feel good that we can provide that service to others, and obviously at the end of the day get paid for it.
There we go. Like, does that go with your personal drive, in a sense? Like, goes the real estate and the personal drive goes hand in hand, you would say?
Yes, and I think for us it's the because our business is heavily based on referrals. I think that the personal relationships that we build independently of price points, right? It's a buy or sell or rental investment. I think that's the part that I enjoy the most, and getting, feeling appreciated, and obviously securing wins, like Patrick said. Obviously we come through and we perform. So the combination of that is clearly what we enjoy the most. But then also on the project side in Florida right now, we're at the finish line. I start enjoying, helping Patrick on that end, making sure we push everything through and we get this deal wrapped up. And now that it's coming together, it's almost done. It gets to the really exciting part, because now we can show everyone what we did there for 1.5 years.
What about you, Patrick? What makes you
Tick?
Go?
Like Max said, it's the same thing. It's you get good at some things, you start enjoying it, right? Like there's all these, like, once you see the results, it becomes an addiction type thing. Like you do a good job and it's rewarding. Clients are happy, you get referrals. I think that, like, the part of growing and seeing us getting to the next level, and getting the next biggest listing we ever had, getting a new investor, getting a new referral, like those are all like those little like mini wins that stack up and create that bigger picture that you work on, and it's we always said like it's not the money. There's a lot of things that the money buys that do make you happy, or whatever. But I think it's the freedom to be able to do what you want. That and sometimes, yeah, you like look at your phone, you see a text, and sometimes we have to text each other. We're like, are we gonna say something? Or are we just gonna swallow this and just move on? And we're like, all right, we'll eat it. We'll send a smiley and a thumbs up. But. And that's where I think, honestly, that's we've been doing this for a while now. Once you get over that hump where you like feel like you get the hang of it, it's whatever. We'll get paid at the end. It'll be worth it, and it's part of the bigger picture again. And so I think that's all part of it. Like you just, again, it's little wins, little steps towards the finish line, and I think that's kind of what keeps us going every day. And obviously we as we grow, you put more on your plate, so now you kind of got to get up in the morning because you got to clean that plate every day, and work through the stuff. A lot of it's fun, a lot of it is a shit show, and it's a little bit of everything. But it's that's what we choose to do to go bigger.
And the more challenging, the better. It's not necessarily a price point or project. We just had a deal that we closed, a referral to. We actually managed to put clients of ours pretty much 1-2 minutes driving distance apart from each other, which was the initial goal, which is just very difficult because there were 2 price points, different timelines, a lot of things that factored into that. But on the second transaction, due to a fuck up from the lender and the appraiser, that deal pretty much almost fell apart. Not only once, actually twice. And then the third time around, we actually got it done. So we managed to keep the deal together, managed to guide the client through the emotions of it. That was obviously not only possible because of the 2 of us, also the agent on the other side, was very helpful. But those are the moments where, this is a challenge, it's a little hump, and how do you overcome that? And I feel like the more difficult it gets, the more excited we get. And the more often we overcome this, the more confident we get. And the more we just know that there's nothing that we can't get done. And it's a certain feeling that then kind of comes up when you are in these situations, because we're very aware that we are, right? But we have the toolbox and the experience and the resources to overcome pretty much anything, right? So I think that deal cost us some sleepless nights, and certainly the client too. But I knew the moment that thing hit the fan, I was like, I know we can figure this out. So I guess that was very rewarding. And then the message she sent Patrick and myself after it closed, I mean, that made it all worth it, Right.
I guess kind of going to like mistakes, like what, I guess I've been in this for many years now, like what are some mistakes you guys ran into, or like things you ran into early on, or even mistakes you made, and like, okay, we learn from this, we do this going forward, like, and that can also help people that are listening, their agents, their entrepreneurs, like what are, both on the real estate end and the business end, what are some like pitfalls or mistakes that you guys made? Okay, we learned, like, what did you learn from that, I guess?
I mean, obviously there's a lot of mistakes you make along the way, right? Like it's you got to shoot the shot, and it can't always go right. And we always said if you do 10 deals, there's some home runs in there, and there's some that will not do as good. But I think in the beginning, like, do your due diligence. Don't, if somebody says it's going to be 8 months, don't trust that just right off the bat. Like, ask a few more people, and then put some contingency in there. Like, those are the things where in the beginning because we're like both people, it's go. And I think we've gotten a lot better now to like sit down and like say, let's take 24 hours and let's go through this one more time. And I think it's a fine line, because you have to kind of just go and kind of get your feet wet and do stuff. But I think that's the one thing, like, don't like take any advice always for like that's definitely the correct advice, or that's if somebody says this is how much it's going to cost, like a lot of little things that you think don't really matter, and you just take the first person's opinion or advice and think they've been doing this for 20 years, they must know. Shockingly they don't. So
and choose wisely who you talk to. I mean, I hear it sometimes too when clients of ours said, my friend said, and this, I'm like, you know, you got to be qualified to speak to and give an educated opinion and advice, right? Even as a friend, you know, I think it's important to know what you know and what you don't know. And there's not a problem in saying that you don't know something, right? Which is that's how we handled everything in the beginning. And I know you asked about mistake, but I can tell you one mistake that we didn't make. We took every shot, 100%. And I think that's what Patrick said. It's a fine line, and still up until today, we still handle it that way, just a little bit more diligent. I think we're still very risk adverse, right? And you know, gotta risk it to get the biscuit, especially in the development game. But we're just a little bit. With every project that you complete, you learn a little bit more, and I think that experience helps you to, you know, kind of assess risks a little bit better, but we're still taking the shot, right?
If we say that's like the biggest lesson you've learned over these years, like what's like the biggest lesson you've along this journey of making real estate number one and going fully into real estate? What's like the lesson?
I think the other thing that's important, and I think that's probably one of the most important things, pretty much in any business, right? You got to be able to consistently and sustainably, however you do that, through whichever channels, create opportunities. And I think there's every day we have some sort of opportunity. It could be buyer, seller, development deal, investment. There's so many different things. And I think that has to be like a machine that's always going, right? Through whether it's referrals or being out there, meeting people at the games or traveling. Everybody has their own golfing. I mean, there's so many different ways we generate opportunities. And an opportunity doesn't mean it leads to business right away. And I think while at the same time firing and generating those opportunities, you got to be also patient, right? Especially for big deals. You know, big deals just don't happen overnight. Yeah. So it's a long game, but you know, the short game is you just got to always put yourself in a position to generate opportunities. And you learn from every one of them, whether it comes to fruition or not. And sometimes you think it doesn't, but then a year, 2, 3 later down the road, I mean, we have people who've been in touch 3 or 4 years. We're like, okay, the guy's just calling me just to get information all the time and nothing happens. And next thing you know, I mean, it was one of our clients. I look back 3.5 years, I've been texting with the guy. I actually never met him. It was just text messages and phone calls, and then it leads to something. So aggressive on generating opportunities in an authentic manner, right? You're not just gonna, I think this whole like, oh, I gotta start playing golf now so I can get business on the golf course. I don't know. I mean, A, for effort, but I just think if you look at what the attributes that you bring yourself, whether it's social connections, networks you already have, I think doubling down on that and then adding some in areas where you want to immerse yourself into, that's fine. But I just always, maybe golf is the wrong example. I mean, it takes forever to actually start to play decently, and especially in the golf club, if you're not part of a private club, you rarely run into people just like casually playing somewhere. We've actually done it once in the US. In 7 years, we met a guy randomly, and next thing you know, he turns into a client, and then he buys something, and then we later sell it for him. But gotta like, back to that do your due diligence and be thoughtful and intentional, you know. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of important, because you want to be efficient along the way too, you know. I mean, until someone wants to play golf with you, if you just started and you're just fucking shanking it everywhere, I mean, I'm sure you're not gonna really get business from that. You know?
I mean, talk about that guy he has, like that the guy who's.
I didn't meet him. Patrick met him.
Yeah. I mean, that was the classic random. Like, booked the tee time on Golf Now, played golf, and the guy showed up. He had just moved from Chicago and was trying to find a house. Just said the agent fucked up a few times in a row, like just the house he wanted, they didn't write up the offer. Like, he said just can't get the deal done. And I said that's what we do, and you know, if we can help, let us know. And then by the end of the round, he said, yeah, maybe you guys can help me. So we met him again next day at Topgolf for some drinks to talk a little bit more about it. And there was one house he wanted that he couldn't get, and we said we're just going to call the agent. It was under contract.
Yeah.
And we called the agent, and they're like, it's a very shaky deal. And we said, well, write a backup offer. That's the one the client wants. We wrote up the backup offer. The other deal fell apart, and he got that house. So it was really like we did one showing, one round of golf. The guy bought the house, and then he lived in it for 3 years. And we haven't heard from him in 3 years. And then out of the blue, he calls and says, hey, guys, I want to sell the house. Can you help me?
Yeah.
He made a lot of money, too. It was perfect timing for him. He bought it at the right time, sold it, like, you know. But so it happens. But to your point, I think if you know, we play a lot of golf, so we're like decent at it. So we play with someone, you have a good time. If they play, like, it's a different conversation than if you go out there and, you know, if I play tennis with someone that's played tennis for 20 years, they're going to be so bored they don't want to play ever. You know, like, you're just not going to bond quite as much, right? If you're a former basketball player, you're probably going to bond better if you hang out at the Suns game than on the golf. You know, like, if you have a certain strengths on sports, or, you know, maybe a business you used to do that you're not involved any, there's a group of people that you can relate to pretty quickly. Like the guy that we talked was a good golfer too. Like, it makes it a lot easier because you start, you know, on step 2 or 3 already. Like, there's some sort of a connection before you even, like, really get to know the person.
I mean, you know, if you suck at golf, I mean, you suck at business too. I mean, what's the deal? Maybe play something else.
I mean, you do both tennis and golf, right? So it's like,
yeah, well, with tennis it's different, you know.
it's one-on-one mostly.
It's one-on-one, and, you know, I've made some connections there. But granted, I started just a year ago, but I put in time and I got good fairly quickly. But I'm still not at a very high level. But it's just different. Golf is just, maybe it's a wrong example. It's just very takes time until you get good, and I think you got to be consistently showing up just with everything else, right? Got to meet the members at the club or invite people over and just consistently be present. And then people actually enjoy playing with you if you play decent too, you know. And then usually if you play decent, if you made someone random, they're like, okay, you play good golf, what do you do? There's a direct connection to, oh, you're good at this.
It's a crossroad.
And what else? What actually do you do? And then whatever you say you do, the assumption is like, okay, if he's good at that, I mean, surely he's not screwing around there, right? So that kind of goes hand in hand. That's why we have that the sports and entertainment division with ex-athletes. You know, it's just a credibility factor that, you know, Patrick, Jamar, and Eddie have, and it's very niche. It's in the sphere, but it works.
And I guess kind of going back to, like, the advice part, like, what's, like, the best piece and the worst piece you received over the years? It can be while you're here in the U.S. or throughout your life, like, best and worst.
The worst, play it safe.
Play it safe. Someone said that.
It's actually interesting. I thought about the same thing, how to say it. Like, the worst is probably to be careful with everything you do. Like, you just can't get anywhere if you play it safe.
Yeah. And the best advice, small circle, big vision. You know, if a very close friendship group or investors or clients, to keep that at a, you know, to keep the intimacy and the being able to nurture these relationships and be more intentional about that. I think that's the best advice. I feel like the smaller our circle is becoming, the better we're getting, and the stronger, obviously, those relations. Doesn't mean that we're not growing the business, right? I guess that's a whole different conversation on how to break that down. But I think that in the last year or two, that made a big difference on our level. And it takes time to get to know the right people, to have the lender, the contractor, all pieces to the puzzle on the business side, and then also to find new friends for us here. You know,
Right.
It's not like that we're very social. I think we are, but we don't really go out much.
Right.
You know, we have our own lives and our circles. But I think that is, I think that's just a great advice for everyone, I guess.
Okay, I've got a question here. What is the biggest money myth that entrepreneurs believe?
I think there's a lot of different, it depends on the entrepreneur. I think it goes back to what you said, like, you gotta, I mean, I think the whole Dave Ramsey conversation, right? There's people that say no leverage, no debt, no like pay cash for everything all the time, and then there's the ones that say you got to take a risk, you got to put it on the line. I think for us, it always worked to risk a lot, right? Obviously mindful of the fact that you might lose a lot too, right? So it's got to be in a certain balance, but trying to save a little bit, and I think that's the biggest mistake. There's a lot of people that we see that try to they make 10 grand and try to keep the money together, and we're like, all right, nine going back into the business to try to double it. And so we've done that for pretty much since day one. And I think the whole, like, if you make a little bit of money, save it for bad times, whatever, all that stuff, like, especially in the beginning, or if you're young, if you're starting out, I mean, honestly, that 10 grand's not going to get you anywhere anyway, so might as well risk it, try to make it 20 right away. And I think we've done that pretty successfully, and even though there are, you already said there's losses in there and mistakes in there, and sometimes you lose money or stuff costs you money, where we're like, well, that sucked big time, right? But then you're like, all right, the only thing you can do is get back on the horse, and we're like, just, now even more, let's double up, fuck it, like, and then I think, if you keep showing up, if you're consistent, you're gonna hit the home runs, you're gonna get this, like, it adds up. You just got to keep going. If you just sit there and wait for the perfect day, for the perfect time, for the perfect opportunity, you might sit there for another 20 years and nothing happens, so just.
And that goes back to what I said, right? The opportunities, consistently generating them, that happens whether a deal goes good or bad. It doesn't matter. That machine always needs to go 24/7 every day. If you're here, not there, that can never be, even on a bad day, that can never be questioned, right? And especially on a bad day, or especially when something bad happens, that's when you even double down on that, right? But I think the moment you start probably stepping off the gas on that end, which we've never done that, then I think, that's difficult, especially in a business where lead times, like I said, on bigger deals are longer. I mean, what are you going to do then?
I guess speaking of deals, I think last time we were at a little home team podcast, we didn't touch on the craziest deal, or one of the craziest real estate deals you guys have been a part of, helped, orchestrated. Can we get into that?
Crazy good, crazy bad, or like?
Up to you guys. It can be both. It can be good and bad if it's the same deal.
I mean, like we said, it's the same thing. The more you do, the more, like, some stuff that seems crazy, you're like, oh, that was crazy. And then 3 years later, you look back, you're like, that was nothing. Like, there's always a new level of craziness.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had it all from, like, cops pulling people out of the house that we bought and they didn't move out, and they,
like
can't.
Squatters, or?
Yeah, well, they just didn't move out.
No, the former owner.
The former owner didn't move out, but then you call the cops, and they showed up with 4 or 5 cars because they had been there many times before for drug-related issues and violence issues. So they're like, in Scottsdale. There was Thunderbird in 64s. But when they saw the address, they like, oh, they all wanted to kick him out. I guess they were excited to show up. But it was weird. Like, we were standing on the sidewalk, we're like, what's going on? And but it's business, and there was a lot of people involved in the deal, agents and buyers and sellers and lenders. And
for disclosure, we have been extremely courteous and generous, like Patrick and I always are. Like, this is not just something we closed on the deal and wanted to keep. Like, leading up to that, I don't know how much time I spent in the house with them, but clearly, drug abuse. The guy was just absolutely nuts, I mean, we found a gun. I remember we found a gun in the kitchen. There were drugs everywhere, and the guy got dragged out. And then they had a gigantic dog that looked like a mini horse, and that dog pulled the girlfriend out. Girlfriend flying on the front yard. Their belongings were like in 2 trash bags. I mean, dude, it was absolutely crazy.
Out of the movie, that's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's different levels of crazy, right? There's good deals where, like we said, there's people call you and they're like, hey, can you write this up? Like, I saw this house, that's the one I want. And you're like, all right, we literally just, you send a contract, you barely do a showing or something. And, in that case, that's a lot of money for not a lot of work. And then the other clients, we showed 50, 60 houses, and then they're like, you know what, we're just gonna not buy right now. And you're like, what just happened? We spent like 4 months with you guys, and so they're all different on different levels, good and bad. And every time you think you've seen it all, like something happens, you're like, that's new. So
Right. I mean, around this time was when you guys were closing or about to close on Camino, right?
about a year ago, yeah. Almost, yeah.
I mean, that was a crazy good deal. Like,
And we sold. We found the deal off market, put the development group together, developed it, sold it in framing, and then we sold it once the new buyer and owner custom finished it with a very reputable builder in town. I mean, we sold this house 3 times for $960, for 2.6, 2.3, and then for 11.
Sold 3 times. What does that mean? Like you sold
Well, because
it?
we represented our development group on
Right.
the purchase, right? That's when we found that deal off market through another agent here locally. And then the second time, we represented us as the seller and the investment group on the sale when we pre-sold the house and framing to the new owner. And then the new owner, we stayed in touch, just built a very genuine, good relationship already through the contract because he's a very experienced real estate guy in the commercial world. And then at some point, he said, I think my wife and I, we don't want to move here. Do you guys want to sell it? So then we sold it for a record price for over $1,400 a foot. That's $11 million. They brought a designer in from LA. It's probably one of the best deals that we've done, and that's all over a stretch of 4 years.
That was
Same
4
house.
years?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's a new fact. I thought it was like when. Like
No, because
maybe
it was
before
purchased, I
joined.
think, in 19. Then it took a while, and plans and permits, and started building. Some delays, ran into COVID. Then he bought it, and then did a couple changes, hired LA designer. But yeah, those 3 sales were over the course of 4 years. 19, 21, and 23.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a lot of pages for one project. It's a lot of work, but
I don't know.
Also get paid 3 times.
yeah.
I mean, we got paid 4 times because the 4th time we're part of the development group. So part of the sale was not only commission, but we had a
Profit split,
piece of the profit too, when we pre-sold it in framing. So 3 commissions and one profit split. That's pretty good. But I mean, I don't know how many thousands of hours we have on this deal. I mean, we knew that house obviously inside out, but we spent so much time on that deal.
Okay. I guess kind of going. You guys did flips early on, right? When you guys come over here, kind of like kind of walk us through that and like kind of the budgeting for that of flipping a house. Kind of people have asked, what's the first thing you think of when creating a flipping budget, and what's the biggest budget house, or what's like the biggest house you flipped?
I mean, the budget, obviously when we started, we did very small deals, right? Like our first budget was like $15,000 for the first project. Right now we're putting it for the whole flip.
Oh, wow.
On the biggest budget right now, we're putting in a coffee maker that costs $24,000. So now the coffee maker is more than the whole.
Better give me like
the happy ending, like a happy ending coffee maker. No, it changed a lot, obviously, over the years, and you can adjust to new project size. I think in the beginning, the budget, it goes back to don't trust what the first guy that walks in tells you, right? They'll be, oh, I can do this for 40. It'll never be that number, right? So know that. The other thing that, and we've done the same thing in the beginning a little bit, where you have a budget, you say, okay, we're going to spend 50, but it's a little tight, so we got to do it for 40. There's no way you do it for 40. If the budget was 50, to say I'm just going to do it for less, you can't just, it's going to cost what it's going to cost. Yeah. So be realistic about it, and then the budget has to be set based on, the sales price, what needs to be in there. I think a lot of flips, corners are being cut, which now in the market that's, slower than a year or 2 ago, there's more options on the market. So now people that do skip something or try to do something on the cheap, those are the ones that are going to start to struggle to sell, or going to have some issues. So I think to be realistic about the budget is really important. When you create the budget, it needs to be It needs to match the price point of the house. Like
Yeah.
you have to be mindful of that, and then just work the numbers backwards. And if they don't work out and you need the budget and there's no profit in it, don't think that you can lower the budget. It's just not the right deal then.
Especially lowering the budget and increasing the price makes no sense, right? Put in less into the house and then expect to get more.
People
That,
want to
doesn't
do
work.
a deal, right? They're think, oh, I want to do the deal, and they close on it and trying to say, oh, if I do it for less and ask more, it makes sense.
Right.
But nobody's going to
'Cause
pay
they-
you more for less. So
Because they're thinking more profit for them.
yeah, or there's almost no profit. There's deals where you buy them for 400, you put 70 in, and you can only get 400. So it sounds like you made 30, but you still got to have coding costs, carrying the commissions and everything. You kind of actually lost money, right? So then people are like, well, if instead of 70 I can do it for 50, and then instead of 400 I can maybe sell it for 30. Now I make 60. But that's not how it goes, right? Like you can't just spend less and ask more. Like that doesn't work, in any other industry. The last few years, there were a lot of deals where, everybody kind of got lucky in that case because the market was so strong. But now that's what we're seeing now, that those start to really sit because you can't just come up with, fantasy numbers anymore.
And then we also realized that there's not a single project that's going to be on time, on budget. That just doesn't exist. As much as we want it to exist, it just doesn't.
Yep.
A lot of factors, fluctuating prices, fluctuating cost, change orders, market adjustment. I mean, we can go on and on. So I think going into it, even if you budget it line item by line item, which obviously we do very thoroughly, it's just there's just always something that's going to happen or that's going to come up. So I think to be mentally prepared for that and not get frustrated, which we've gotten in the past, and we just don't anymore. I guess that's important for expectation management.
And I guess kind of going into the market right now, it can be Arizona and U.S. as a whole. Like, what are some things you guys are seeing when you're talking with other people, other agents, and other lenders and brokers, and what's how is the market looking right now, and how's it going to look the rest of 2024? Predictions, whatever. And just kind of give your thoughts on the market right now, in a sense.
I mean, Patrick already said the market's definitely not where it used to be.
Yeah.
I think COVID obviously inflated or accelerated appreciation significantly. What's interesting, and this is obviously a very loaded question. I mean, I can, if you look at Paradise Valley, right, it's a market that has seen appreciations of 34% year over year during COVID. And if you look at more recent numbers, we're still about 15-16% year over year. That's post-COVID, right? So it shows that this is just a very strong, desirable, but it's a niche market. We are seeing longer days on market. We are seeing more inventory coming on the market, and then it's an election year, which that in itself has brings some complexity to the marketplace. And I think, as always, if you build a good product, you have a good location, and you don't cut corners, I think there's always going to be money to be made. It's just tougher to find deals due to scarcity and just significantly increased prices. 2-3 years ago, you could get a lot for $1 million. Now, really good lot, you're looking at $2.5-3 million, right? And that's just what it is. But at the same time, too, you can push the exits 10 million plus if you do it right. So just shows that it's harder to get the deals. It requires more capital, and you got to be very conscious about product and finishes to be able to execute on the back end on selling these homes.
Like, is that the increase in PV and Scottsdale mostly?
That's Paradise Valley. The only reason I know that number is just fresh off the press, and I looked at it yesterday. So it's still let's just say an abnormal appreciation level year over year, considering that we're technically out of COVID that
Right.
significantly spiked things. So I'm not expecting this to increase at that rate, but I think there's always going to be a somewhat healthy level and steady increase in prices in Paradise Valley.
Well, I guess question for both of you guys, but more like Patrick, is there less homes being built and developed in a sense because of the COVID effect, or?
Yeah, there was some lag, and again, it's a loaded question, right? It depends on the price point, the location. There was a time where everybody was very careful, so then there's a little bit of a gap of where homes were not really being built as much. Then there was the time where everybody went nuts and everybody was just buying and building and selling everything.
Well, I remember when we were buying, that was pretty much in the COVID. People were like, you're buying.
There was that phase where we bought a couple that ended up being really, really good deals for us, because when everybody came back in the market, we had already scooped up a few at a good price.
But 2020.
Yeah, around that time, 2020, 21 still, and then it started to go crazy. But the height of the market, 23, 20, like in that, like you had to build something in 21 to sell it in 23 to like really get the maximum buy at the bottom, sell it, not the bottom, but like get that crazy spike that Max was talking about. So we timed it great on a few deals. Right now is another time where it's like a little bit interesting. There's some people that are like going all out, and then a lot of people that are like very hesitant right now. So it's almost a little bit split right now. There's the ones that are very optimistic and the ones that are very pessimistic in a way. So nobody has a crystal ball. So in a year from now we'll look back and see who was right, I guess.
Because like there is more demand here in Arizona, right? Like,
there's more demand, but like Max said, we do see more days on market. There's some inventory. A lot of people that bought in 22, 23 thinking it's going to just keep going up and up. They're finishing up their projects now, so there's more inventory hitting the market now that's being finished, or like even resell, people that bought a few years ago that now see how much the prices went up. But they just don't get the number anymore that it could have gotten maybe 6 months ago or 12 months ago. So we've seen that in a few cases, but it's also very specific per house, right? There's some that still go pretty quick, others take longer, location, size, finishes. There's so many different variables that it's very hard to in the market that we're in to say give a general statement. It's easier if it's a track home style product, right? If you sell a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom in Mesa where there's 1,000 within a mile radius, right, it's a lot easier to make a general statement because there's 20 of them selling every month, and that price point that we're in, each house basically 6. There's 1 or 2 that are really comparable in size and style and price, and that's about it. And the rest is already $1 million up, $1 million down, another 2,000 square feet, different styles. So it's a lot more complex to give a general statement. So it's really
and a lot of deals happen off market, so you gotta stay in the know and understand what trades off market, what effect that has on any on market deals or future developments or acquisitions. So like Patrick said, very very niche, but we're seeing a lot of off market stuff as always.
Okay. And it's kind of going back to we talked about a little earlier about having a lot on your plate. Like how is delegating, as you guys have grown and taken on more tasks and more obligations, how is like delegation in a sense, or are you guys delegating in a sense to kind of keep growing?
To you?
What?
To you, delegating stuff to you?
I
mean, honestly, the thing is,
I don't know.
Kind of, yeah. No, but I mean, I think we're probably not the best at doing it because we're not trust issues, but we have we just, there's the saying, if you want it done right, do it yourself. Yeah. And I think we're just both strong believers. So anytime there's something that needs to be done, one of us I'm just going to do it because we want to make sure that, it's done right, and whatever he says he's going to do, I know it's going to come out perfect, and vice versa. So we have a hard time just saying let's send this off and have somebody else create this or do that for us or put this together. So we're not good at it. That's what I was jokingly saying because I think, the social media, video stuff, that's probably stuff we're the most hands off, saying do something and grow the accounts and then, make us look as, less stupid as possible. And, so I think we're not good at it. I think we should be better at it. And we're getting better, I think
on the transaction side, we're pretty dialed in with our transaction coordinator. All the agents that work together with us are amazing. We're doing more co-lists, and I think on that end we're good. The development side, the more money is involved, or the more important the relationship, I mean, the less it's even an option or even a consideration on our end to delegate it. That's just a part of the business that really doesn't scale, but also doesn't have to scale in order to grow. Does that make sense? So it doesn't. I think you don't have to necessarily start delegating to scale or grow your business. I think investing time in the right relationship and nurturing those, which only we can do, right, to that extent, because those are personal relationships. I think that itself helps to grow and scale. It's not always with additional manpower, if that makes sense, right?
Well, there's two options. You either increase volume or you increase price point, right? Like, so we do the same amount of transactions that we did 10 years ago, just at the average price point, well, not 10 years, but 5 years ago, but the average price point is way higher. So we don't need 20 people to increase the business, because instead of $1 million house, you sell a $5 million.
Right.
You just 5x your revenue without adding people, because it still only takes the two of us to sell the house. Where if we were to say, and it's a different approach, if you want to build a team and you say, instead of doing 10 houses, I want to sell 50 houses a month, now you need to scale and delegate, because you're going to need other agents to help you, and marketing team that goes out and gets all these leads. The way we do it, it's like Max said, it's like we're at the Suns game, we're on a golf course, we're at social events, we network, and that's how we get our business. And it just happens that our price points and the quality of the actual deals gets better. So I think that's where we spend the most time trying to grow the business, is in the level of the deal rather than the amount of deals.
Okay. Kind of go to a different question here, kind of on the lines of advice, I guess. Who are people like in the industry, or even like as far as like mentorship, or like kind of like people in your life, or even kind of like outside your life in a sense? Who are people you guys look to for business advice or business, like, okay, should I do kind of like outside of you and you two, like who are you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we have a close circle of, I don't want to say mentors. It's just, it's not like we're in like a mentorship mastermind. Yeah. We just happen to have built good relationships with people that have been around the block longer than us, whether it's in the real estate industry or general in business or in life, right? So we look out and seek out for advice from people who are significantly more successful than us. And those people, for the most part, or good part, tend to be older than us too, right? And then there's friends like PK, they're actually younger than us, right? Actually significantly younger than us, but we just have a genuine, very close friendship and look up to all the business achievements and anything that we do together. So it's not only, and there's a few others, but it's not only an age or experience thing, but I think those people that are around us are all extremely successful and share the same values, and there's a very profound friendship attached to all of those guys, because mentorship, you always think, maybe they're older, right? And that's okay. But I just happen to think of PK, extremely successful, one of our best friends. And, we were at that time, our mindset, we're not even here to begin with. I think that was the first problem. I think that would have taken care of some of the things, but it's just very different. So I think that to have a diverse influence on that level, but a constant one, right? Not flopping out friendships and business partnerships, to just have a constant kind of denominator there. I think that's just very important, right?
Like, is your
at an open house we met him? Fucking best story ever.
MPK?
Yeah.
Can we go into that, or you want to save it for? We can have him on and talk about that.
No, I think it's like it was a again a random situation, but I think it's the more you work, the luckier you get, right? So it was an open house, and he just drove by, came in, he looked at it, and young guy, talked about business. You could tell he's driven and he knows what he's doing, and Also like a very level-headed, so it wasn't like, you're like coming in there, doing something flashy and trying to show off. He was just like very normal, but you could tell like, he's got his head on his shoulders, right? Like, and then Max said, let's just grab dinner and get to know each other better and see if there's something maybe one day that we'll do, and if not, then we'll just have good dinner. And the same night we had dinner with him, and just again, like I think it happens, where some people then later say, oh, that's luck, or you got lucky that you met that person or this. We did a lot of open houses, we go to a lot of events, we get to introduce a lot of people. Like, you have to be out there all day every day, and then that happens, and it's not luck. It's like you're just there all the time, you show up, and then at that some point it has to happen, right?
It's also a little bit of a, you got to have somewhat of a strong empathy, intuition. I think that helps, because when I met PK first, I obviously knew he was younger, but there was just something about that guy that, I instantly connected with. And, when we went to dinner, I'm not saying it has to be always fancy, but we went to Dominic's, we had a great dinner, steaks, the whole thing, where, people were probably, at our level and with our financial means at the time, we probably said, oh, okay, let's just maybe do a Starbucks or like a Chipotle. But we've always, it felt it was the right thing. We've done this many times. We always spend a lot of time and money in that food and beverage department. And, just like to have a good time. And that helps. So you can't be, you got to spend the money to make the money, I'm not saying it's got to be steakhouses and fancy dinners all the time, but that's all part of it, right? The same thing with, our Sun season tickets are not up in the nosebleed section. Granted, 5 years ago, we were lucky if we could actually afford a ticket up there. But as all of that progresses and you get to the next level, that just goes with it, right? But I still love a good Chipotle, and so does PK. But the first dinner was, we were like, oops. And then Patrick and I obviously paid for it because it was just him. Next thing you know, we had an $800 dinner. Still haven't sold the house. We're like, okay, what are we doing? But you just gotta like roll with it sometimes, It's just part of it. But you get better because at the end of the day, like I said, this is people business. You get a good vibe and a feel and a temperature on someone really quickly. Right. And then it's got to be a genuine connection. Not only because the guy rolls up with that car and that watch. It's not only that, right? And PK came, I think he was driving a Range Rover, but nothing else was, he didn't came in bawling, iced out, whatever. He was just a normal guy, but it just clicked. 5 minutes, I just knew that guy is absolutely amazing. And my first thought was, I want Patrick to meet him. Because they're both Patrick, right? I'm like, okay. So, yeah.
Well, I guess speaking of, I had a question on here. Speaking of Chipotle.
Let's go back to normal food.
What is your go-to order at Panda, Chipotle, or any other fast food casual restaurant? Like, you can pick one of those. Up to you. What's your you get this and you're good. I know I go to Panda a lot when we're at the office, but
Panda's always good. All the food court stuff is actually good. Every time we go somewhere else.
It's all solid processed food.
all the best of the best.
You have to get your protein somewhere in somewhere.
I'm a sandwich guy. I like chop shop stuff and Delight, like just a good turkey club or something. Like you just get a sandwich.
You have an order?
Yeah, like I sort of said, it's usually for me it's like a chicken or like a turkey club, and then I usually add like egg, avocado, get some protein. And
Wait, from Chop Shop?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It depends on how much time you have available, right? That's a very we gotta dissect how much time we have available to eat, because that's gonna by default. Otherwise I would have said Chop Shop 2 or Child Flower or what's that place? Olive and Ivy. We love these places. And Hidden Champion is we haven't been there in a while. It's called
the Tropical Cafe.
Well, the Tropical Cafe, that's our go-to as well on Indian School in Scottsdale. There's another one called Pick and Roll.
Oh,
Indian Bandit 101.
It's like a poke bowl place.
And they have sushi too. It's the most affordable, and actually it's quick. It's just a 8-minute drive. That's why I said sometimes we don't have the time, so you just got to go to the food court and then, double chicken, rice, beans, guac, sour cream, lettuce, and let's go.
At Chipotle?
Yeah. I would say out of all those places, we eat at, what's the other place called that we eat there? Peter Jungle.
Yeah.
I think out of all of them, I think Peter Jungle is probably I like that the best.
Well, I try to look up hidden champion because we talked about it on like 2 podcasts ago. Like, I can't find. You type in hidden champion, right?
Hidden champion
What's
is
it called?
so it's at least in Germany, it's a category for businesses that are not known but very successful. So there's companies.
I mean, there's so many in Germany, mid-sized, medium-sized companies.
There's companies that make billions a year, and you've never heard of them, and they just make glass that goes in the camera or something, like something small that doesn't have a label on it, so you wouldn't know, but they're multi-billion-dollar businesses. So they're called hidden champions because they're so good, but you would never even know who they are.
I tried to Google it, I couldn't find it.
Yeah, they're hidden.
I think Pick and Roll is not a multi-billion-dollar company.
We just use it as a term for something that is really good, but people don't know about.
Damn.
That's
Got all these cultural differences.
It's hidden.
Start learning some German stuff, will you?
I learned some stuff when we did that video, but other than that, I didn't learn that much. Before we kind of finish up with some current topics, I guess here, to end here, we kind of touched on the when we started, but like what kind of keeps you, well, what is making you want to elevate on a personal and a business level? Like, is there a certain, I guess, there's a kind of taboo to say goals, but like, is there certain goals, and what is driving those goals this next year, years to come? Like, what, you have some markers you want to hit, business-wise, real estate-wise, personal-wise?
I mean, like we always say, it's not the money itself, it's the freedom that comes with it, right? To be able to do stuff. For me, it's my son. I want him to, have anything and everything he'll ever need. So I don't think it's a number, it's an item. It's the option to do whatever you want, whenever you want. And if you are, like Max said, if you are somewhere and you feel like you want to go to a fancy steak dinner, and you just go without having to think if can I do the appetizer, or is it just a side salad, and that's really the little stuff. It's not necessarily a specific big ticket item. It's like being being able to do whatever you want whenever you want, which again, we're like far away from that point that we want to get to, what we talked about last time. We're not anywhere near where we want to be one day, but we're definitely getting a lot closer.
And I think it's going back to this whole inner circle. Every one of our friends and business partners that we, that are in our lives all the time, they all motivate me. It's a mutual support. It's unspoken. Is that how you say it in English?
It's like it's like automatic. So it's like, so unspoken. I
Yeah,
guess.
it's unspoken, but whether it's
like through their actions.
fitness, golf, tennis, business, health. I mean, there's, every time I talk with any of the guys, or I see, or they're successful, whether we had direct influence in it or not, it just motivates me. And I think that also sets you and the relationship apart with those people you care about the most, because it's a mutual, unconditional support, and it's always about the next level, right? I mean, there's some group chats that we have, and the communication in there, and again, it's not only about materialistic things, but some of it obviously goes with it. It's just always motivates me,
Yeah. Kind of just seeing what others want to do, and that kind of like, all right.
But together, it's not always about, oh, I want that, and because they have that, but it's how can we all together collectively continue to push us. And I think that now has a team aspect and mindset of it, and Patrick and I are 100% team players, so that's I think that's the best part.
Perfect. Let's hit on some current topics before we get out of here. Of course, Masters coming up in about a few weeks here. I'll pull up. Like, who are some? You have any predictions on who you might think might win the Masters? Any predictions?
If I have to
Field.
say a name, I would say Joachim Niemann.
Who's that?
He plays on Live Golf, but
Yeah.
he's the last like 2 or 3 months just lights out
He is
everywhere he
lights out,
plays.
yeah.
He's got the game, really young guy. So if I had to say a random name, that would be him.
Is he from a certain country, or where is he?
He's Chile.
He's from Chile, yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, Neiman is a good one.
Okay.
I mean, there's someone I would love to win, because he's just trying to get there again, which is Rory. Rory McIlroy. He certainly there's a lot of pressure on him to win a Masters, but yeah, that'd be cool.
I guess.
There's just so many good players when you look at that lineup.
DeChambeau.
Yeah.
A lot
Brooks Koepka's always good.
Yep.
Guy, Fitzpatrick.
Yep.
Oh, he's from England. Oh,
Yep.
Wow, okay. Fowler should have a chance here and there. Okay, going back to something we talked about with Andrew Turley. Now it's coming to fruition, I think, is the 32-hour work week is being pushed.
Does the part-time work week, or what are they talking about?
Maybe it's so you can work 2 jobs.
It's
get
a
to 64.
proposal in Congress to reduce the work week to 32 weeks, and so keep the same pay but 32 hours instead of the 40-hour work week. And I know you guys both have kind of like, we'll just kind of give your thoughts on it, and like.
I mean, in Germany, they rolled it back, I think, to 38, then to 36 and a half or something. I mean, the only thing it really hurts is the businesses, because somebody's got to work the extra 8 hours, which you got to pay now. So how's that going to work? So ultimately, you're going to get, pay less per hour. I don't know. I again, it's something very unique to the industry, to the business, what it is. I mean, we're the opposite. I think we would go from 40 to 90 and not the other way.
It's
just no shortcut.
There's no shortcut, and obviously this is talking about employees, and I understand, there's got to be certain balance, efficiency. I get all of that, but quite frankly, it's the first time I heard of it. My initial thought was, is this part-time? And then my second thought is, we're not, it doesn't really, Patrick and I, we have nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
And I think everybody that is an entrepreneur would agree that's the same for them. And everybody who's thinking of being an entrepreneur is thinking with 32 hours and delegating stuff overseas and virtual assistants, he's going to get somewhere, then he's probably going to realize pretty quickly that it's just not how it works.
It's Wednesday, 4 o'clock. I think we're already at 32 hours for the week.
Yeah. So I understand, and I can respect that, but I think we're probably the wrong guys to talk about something like that.
There we go. I just saw this on IG, actually, one of the iconic mid-century, something we've been talking about with Eric.
Oh yeah,
is
we have a deal coming around the corner, actually a few hundred feet from them. We just drove by this today.
Talked about it twice today. We talked about it with one client. We talked about it with an architect. It's definitely a very interesting build, a house that's been talked about a lot. I think it would be nice if they find a way to save it, but I also understand it's a prime lot in a prime location, and it's not the highest and best use.
Yeah.
There's some Frank Lloyd Wrights that were bought and by somebody that appreciates it, and they just keep it and don't care about the value of it. It sounds like the owner of this house does not give a fuck. So he just wants to build his house on there. We'll see how it plays out. I mean, we have some strings attached to it, but nothing that we can. We'll see.
Put out right now.
But it'd be nice to keep it. I mean, it's kind of cool. Like, can't destroy everything that's mid-century modern original, because I think it'd be too bad. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
Okay. Let's see here. Let's talk about. You want to touch on this settlement? Want to touch on that at all?
Sure. Well, I guess first of all, there's a saying in Germany it's, I think, very applicable to this and anything else that kind of happens where people freak out in the first moment. That means, so we say that you don't drink the coffee as hot as it is made, right? Which is logical, right? You're not gonna brew coffee and just drink it right away. What that means is, in reality in life, things cool off anyways in some capacity, and that's just reality, all right? So trying to bridge that to the NAR issue, when that came out, everybody's freaking out, right?
I saw a lot of posts.
And I think obviously we have to look into it, right, and understand, what the details are. And by the way, it's obviously something that is not in effect yet. And then secondly, commissions always have been negotiable, just like prices have been negotiable, right? So I think for us, it's business as usual. I think it will have an effect on the lower price points. So in my mind, the lower the price points, the more you have to deal with it. The same way, the more you're buyer heavy, the more you have to deal with it, right? So if you're a buyer's agent and all you do is crank out deals in the $400,000 price point, I think that's someone who can probably buckle up and potentially might be pushed out of the business. So I think this is going to definitely create a situation where a lot of the agents, I think we're at 78,000 here in Arizona. It's absolutely wild. I think a lot of agents are going to leave the business, are going to be forced to leave the business because their clientele will not be able to afford making payments for their services, and or the negotiation of commissions that have been compressed, especially in that price point, will not allow them to maneuver that economically. So I think it's a good thing overall. And again, as always, just like when COVID hit and everybody freaked out, Patrick and I continue to do our thing. We put in the work. We know we provide a lot of value to our clients all across the way. So I think now it's going to show who actually brings value to the table and who doesn't.
So it kind of pushes some of the realtors out that were kind of not all in a sense?
Potentially. I mean, the other thing is, by the time this gets in full effect, there's always already somebody working on how they're going to maneuver through this, or, not find a loophole, but find a way to do it differently. Like Max said, whenever it first comes out, everybody freaks out. In 2 months, nobody's going to talk about it, and it's going to go into effect. It's going to be a big deal again for a few months, and it's going to go away a little bit. And so, if you can't change it, you just got to go with it. We got to keep doing our business. We got to provide value. In other states, there's attorneys that represent buyers, so pay them by the hour. You probably end up spending more than if you use an agent. In Europe, the buyer's agent is already paid for by the buyer. It's already the way they want it here. It gets rolled into the loan. It's going to have some effect for some people more than others. For us, not as much. And again, we'll see where it's going to go in 6 months and 12 months. Nobody has a crystal ball. Just got to keep going.
And to add a maybe piece of advice there that we've been giving always, Patrick and I cannot influence whatever settlement has been on the way there. So why would we feed additional energy and time into it and start having these conversations on a daily basis that don't change anything, plus take up time away from our business and our clients. So, we handle that like we usually handle everything else. We focus on our stuff and keep plugging away.
Perfect. I think that's a good stopping point to wrap. Thanks. You want to close us out?
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for watching. We appreciate it, and we're looking forward
We have a couple
to the next episode. Oh, we have a couple of good ones coming, right?
Yeah.
The next 3 guests on our podcast are going to be nothing short of amazing. A very diverse group of very successful business partners and friends. So we're super excited for that.
And as always, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, hit the everything, and we hope to see you on the next one.
Thanks. Peace.
Later.
Peace, dog.